you go. Look how easily she's able to pull it. Using, of course, her foot when her trunk is not strong enough to pull it right out of the ground and snap it. Isn't that amazing? Look at those toes as well. So they've got the 4 toes on the front and only 3 toes on the back. Unlike the Asian elephant, if I'm not mistaken, they've got 5 toes on the front and 4 on the back. So that's another one of the differences between the African and Asian elephants. Come on, girl, pull that out. I want to see that root snap. There you go. She's wedging it under her heel. No. She's still struggling with that first root that we've been seeing. There we go. That's better. Put it right into the back. Now you can hear what I mean when I try and describe it as squashing or chewing on a, not quite a frozen ice lolly, but something sort of in between that. It sort of sounds slushy as she munches through that. Isn't that lovely? Come on now, pull that big root for us. Oh, it seems as, here we go. Just digging it out a little bit further. Oh. She did that very easily. They seem to enjoy the roots from the bush willows. That seems to be the most sort of, between them and the marula trees. Just in my opinion, that seems to be their favorite roots to feed on. So they must have quite a high water content in them and lots of nutrients. There's a tiny little elephant coming out, also quite curious as to what this adult is doing. Perhaps it's her calf. And I think this little one is wondering, and probably quite jealous, thinking, oh, when I'm big enough, I can't wait to be able to do that. Little one, I think that's a little bit out of your field. Yes, that smaller one seems to be better suited. Now, as we watch this little one, you can see it's struggling to really control its trunk. And you see how it's going in and trying to actually bite the root off with its teeth. Now, that's a strategy that we see the youngest elephants doing, so it's probably just less than 6 months old. But you'll get there one day. There's no point in rushing life. Just take your time and learn every day, little elephant, and eventually you'll get as big and strong as Mom. It's very difficult, though. It's like a piece of spaghetti. I'm just looking at this little elephant's face, and it doesn't look like he's too impressed with, of course, the roots, and probably wondering what the fuss is all about. But of course, he hasn't quite eaten the nice tasty bits just yet. And even if Mom were to break off a small bit for this young calf, I don't know if it would be able to chew it quite well just yet either. I think it's still feeding on the softer vegetation. The Ellies are very calm and collected, and I think that they're enjoying the cooler weather today, as the last couple of days have been very, very hot and humid. But they have forecasted a small chance of rain today. We'll see. We'll take any little bit we can get, of course. But for the moment, it doesn't look like it. The skies are very grey. We know how much all the animals enjoy the rain, especially the elephants, because that means more mud wallows. I suppose you could say that the buffalo then enjoy them too. But you can see there's grey sky, but it's not particularly thick clouds, and they're quite high up still, so they'll need to drop a bit. It seems as though these two are going to feed you for quite some time. Now we have been watching this female as she digs up the roots. Now, Shamson, you were wondering, in terms of muscles, which is stronger, their feet or their trunk? Now, in my opinion, I think that the feet and the trunk do two completely different things. Obviously, that trunk is very much coordinated, and they're able to control it and move it around and sort of pick up and pull things. Of course, that trunk is very, very strong, especially when there are branches that are high up, and they're able to use their entire body weight by pulling down to snap the branches. But even when they push trees over, they don't directly use their trunk. They sort of curl their trunk above their head and then push against the tree like that, using their body strength. So I'm going to have to say, I think that their feet, their legs are probably the strongest. You saw how she would try and pull the root up, and she wouldn't be successful with her trunk, so she would resort to loosening the soil with her foot and then wedging it at the back of her heel and then pulling back, and that would snap it quite easily. Now, you've seen this other girl come in and sort of push that female away. And two little calves here now. So possibly she's higher up in the matriarchal hierarchy, so she gets preference over anything, even if it was the female on the right that did the hard work and pushed this bush willow over. That doesn't matter. You have to respect your elders, even if that means going to find another tree to push over and dig up some more roots. Now, the calf on the left, you can see, is substantially older than the one on the right. You can just see by the height. And let's see if it's able to also pick up a couple of roots. You can actually see it's digging for itself now. It was shuffling its feet around. So already it has learnt that if you want to try and dig the roots up, you need to move your feet around. Probably not quite sure just yet as why it's moving its feet around, but it's seen Mom do that. Oh, look at the injury that it has on its trunk. Can you see that? Now, I wonder what would have caused something like that. It doesn't look too serious, though. And most of the wounds we see on animals, it won't be. Looks like it could have been an abscess. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. You see how it's slightly swollen? I don't know if it was a thorn or something that punctured into the trunk of this little ellie, and perhaps a thorn got stuck in there, and often the abscesses will form around it. And maybe it burst some time ago and now it's healing. Abscesses are very, very common with animals, especially something like an elephant. You often see them getting lumps and bumps on their sort of sides, and often it's from a thorn or something penetrating through that thick skin and breaking off at the base, and then it gets stuck in there. And naturally, an abscess is to try and sort of form a protection over that wound, of course, but it does fester and then it will burst, and of course all that gory stuff will come out, which is good, and then it tends to heal. So maybe it's that, but of course I don't know. We can only speculate. We didn't see the injury happen. It could be something else, but the most important thing is that it's not serious. You could see it didn't affect that little elephant being able to use its trunk, so it'll be okay. Now, Dark Tranquility, seeing as though we've got a very good view of these elephants' feet at the moment, you were wondering, do elephants ever break off of their toenails, or do they get any infections in them? I've never known or read anything or seen any documentaries about infections of the nails, but we know as humans that it's quite easy to get a type of a fungal infection in your nails. But if you look at their toenails, they're sort of quite dense and thick, and unlike ours, I don't know if there's sort of a gap, or as sensitive as a gap if you just